I love that. Well, and that's what I was going to bring up is that you're still in your PhD program, right? That is where much of your attention and focus and the energy that you have toward being consistent likely needs to go. But you can also see, as you have been doing, like appreciating within yourself that you're staying in the plants. But you might not have the capacity to be intensely studying that and intensely studying this at the same time, but you're still in the plants. And I think there was a season where we had that as well, where I felt like I wasn't being consistent in the work, but years later, looking back, I stayed in the plants and so much formulary just from being creative. It was a time where I was not like trying to be business focused. We were pregnant and then we had Niles, but I was stayed in the medicine and there was so much, it was a creative outlet that still I ended up having a lot of rewards from. But in it, I felt like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I felt the same way, but coming out of it, there was hindsight's 2020. There was just more perspective where I appreciated that period.
Well, what comes to mind also, because you're already working with the herbs on a consistent basis, but if you want the consistency for just the book knowledge, just the hearing of the knowledge, and Selima is great at this. If you find, and you're in a PhD, so let's not forget that because that's a huge thing. But if you can take 10 minutes a day and say, this 10 minutes, I'm going to listen to this class, right? My advice would be kind to yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. Like it's not going anywhere, right? And so if you think that you have 10 minutes, and it might not be a day, and maybe it's 10 minutes a week, you're doing something one time a week is still consistent, right? Then find what that 10 minutes is. Maybe you wake up 10 minutes earlier and that's when you do it, right? Whatever it is that works for you, because then you are putting energy into something you say that you want, you're doing it over and over, and time really does expand, even though sometimes that sounds like a cliche and people like, that's BS. When you're putting energy into something consistently, time really does expand and you start realizing, wow, I have more time to do that. Now, time expands because you have made new decisions with your consistency, right? That's how time expands. You made new decisions with your consistency. And so now instead of something else you were doing, you're taking some of that time and adding it to what you said you wanted to work on. But I have found that that generally does not happen if you're not consistent, and you're generally not consistent if you've overwhelmed yourself and you try to take on too much at once. And you might go hard and strong for like a week or 2 weeks and you're like, yo, I'm on it. And then boom, done, it's a wrap. And you're like, well, that's not what you wanted, right? So understand what you want, right? I want to continue this, and then chunk it down so that you can keep going, right? Little bit at a time. So if it's not 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is for you to show up for yourself.